So, season 2 of Talking Candid. It's been a while since we've done a record, so how's everyone been?
Yeah, it's been a while. We're in the new podcast room. I don't know if you can tell.
It's been a minute, hasn't it? It's been a minute.
It's been a long time coming. It's been a lot of hard work, a lot of stress with certain things on getting the room sorted out, getting the new offices sorted, but we're finally here and I'm really happy that we've managed it. I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
This is better than the old one,
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the old one was crap.
Yeah, I mean, that was our boardroom. We did a lot of deals on that table. This is more of like a conversational, got a couple of sofas.
Yeah, this is much
more
better.
chill vibe.
It's much better. It's much more chilled. We've had a good couple of months, haven't we, I think?
We have.
Yep, we've moved office.
Big move. 2 members of staff from last time we were on,
Yes.
which is obviously Alicia and Maddie.
Yep.
So what's Alicia doing?
So Alicia is our apprentice, digital marketing apprentice.
Yeah.
So she's working on a number of different things throughout the company. So editing this podcast is one of them, which I think you touched on in the last episode, actually. But she's also doing social media assets and Canva stuff, and then helping out with you as well with like some asset design for the social media posts. So it's quite a varied role, and it's one of those things like with apprentices, you kind of leave it a bit open so they can find the right path, because with marketing you can go down a content route, you can go down SEO, you can go hugely specialized. So it's about trying loads of different things until you're like, okay, you're really good at that, and this is what we need you to do in the next couple of years, and this is what you need to be based on what you like.
Yeah, it's about, with an apprentice as well, it's about, I want to air quote for anyone that's listening, but it's finding your passion, but it's actually a thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So she might hate search, for example, as we go down that path, but she might really like paid, she might like social, etc. It's about finding your passion, because I started as an apprentice, as did you, yeah. And I really didn't like some parts of my role, and I loved other parts of it. But the bits I didn't like gave me a foundation which helped my career, I think.
Yeah.
And it's all about that rounded knowledge, isn't it? And what is Maddie doing?
So Maddie is our new SEO executive. So she is supporting the SEO manager, Liam, and myself with delivering the client strategies. So she's amazing at writing. I don't know if you've had the time to read some of her writing, but it's really top notch. So we've got her writing a lot of the client blogs.
She's too posh for me. We don't speak. She's too posh for me.
But yeah, so she's fitting really well with the team. She's just picked up the role and ran with it. So yeah, it's an exciting time. We're
Brilliant.
growing, aren't we? So
We are growing. We're potentially going to get a new member of staff, but
yes,
we'll see.
Potentially.
We will see.
Watch this space.
So this is it's a bit of a serious one, this one, isn't it, I think, because we want to talk about stress awareness, which was your idea to bring this up on the pod.
Yeah.
Hayley, why did you want to bring it up?
Well, it's Stress Awareness Month, and I think we need to shine a spotlight on how stressful this industry can be. Digital marketing is just constantly evolving, and the goalposts are constantly moving. But I think each of us individually have had stressful experiences in our time. I mean, Aaron, we recorded a video not so long ago about your own experiences that I thought was really impactful.
We did, and I scraped the surface, I think. I don't think I really went too deep into the stresses that I've experienced in my career, so I didn't think it was right. So we'll maybe touch on that in a little bit, but what stresses have you had in your career?
I think the nature of my role has always been that I'm working towards a deadline. We work to quarters, we work to months, and with SEO in particular, algorithm updates are constantly changing the goalposts for search. And that's something that is never going to change. It's just part of the role. But with that comes stresses, because you're constantly learning, you're constantly meeting tight deadlines. And I think that accumulates, and sometimes...
And that's external, isn't it? So it's not something so that's Google, for example. So it's external, yeah.
So it's out of your control, really.
Yeah.
You've just got to implement best practices, and I think it's something that's like echoed in the team, definitely, that is a stressful industry. And I think sometimes instead, we're mistakes that I've made in the past is that I've not actually voiced when I've been stressed. And I've just kind of internalized it and let it get on top of me. And I don't think that's the right way to go about it, especially in this industry.
It's not. What about yourself, David? We'll come back to that, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, mine's probably from the very beginning, really, like where I think having been an apprentice, not going down the typical route of doing university and getting a marketing degree, it was very quick in terms of getting into work and getting the experience hands-on of what you have to do as a job day in, day out.
Yeah.
There was a lot of pressure there, both internally and externally, on what am I capable of doing? What do I need to learn? Who do I need to impress? And I would say probably the first 5 years of my career was probably one of the most stressful, just because I was trying to manage expectations with my superiors. I was trying to do a good job, and I was trying to propel myself forward into a career that I actually enjoyed.
How old were you when that was going on?
Apprenticeship, I started at 17.
Okay.
So I turned 18 as I was like the first 3 months of the apprenticeship, where you're supposed to be like drinking and going out.
Did you drop out of college?
Yeah, I dropped out of college. Yeah, so because I went to a film school called Confetti, but I didn't find it interesting in the slightest.
Okay.
So I dropped out, and I was like, okay, well, if I want to make films, where do I go? And someone was like, oh, you can do films and marketing. And that's how I ended up applying somewhere and doing that.
Okay.
But yeah, that was probably the most stressful. And then I think in kind of modern times, being in a position where I have worked my way up and I'm in that senior position, I think for me, more than anything, stress awareness is it kind of lands with me now. You know, I'm thinking about the people who I look after and the people I manage in the team.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I've had bad experiences in the past, and I need to make sure that I'm not reflecting those bad experiences onto other people just because I went through them myself. And for me, it's about making it better for other people and being an inspiring leader and making sure people are looked after. Because I see stress everywhere, and you can't control all of it.
No, I think in both of your situations, do you think you put that stress on yourselves, and that's actually not external, it's internal?
I think there's an element of that, definitely. I think in the positions that we're both in, I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. And I mean, I'm not speaking for you, David, but I mean, if that was how you felt, I could empathise, because there's a lot of pressure. You want to perform well, and like, we put our hearts into this industry. You know, when we get a new client on board, we want to perform for them. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time. It's stressful when you're waiting for something to kind of come to fruition. So there is like an internalized element of stress, but then there are external factors that just mean the nature of this business is always going to be slightly stressful. It's just how you respond to it, I guess.
Correct. I would agree with that. What about yourself? Do you think you put it on yourself?
I think it's a combination, because like I deal a lot in commercials, and I was actually talking to Giuseppe about this the other week, and I was like, you know, people who work in commercial and sales are some of the most stressed out, depressed people in the world.
Yeah.
And it's not because of the hardest workers. It's not about hard work. It's about the environment that you get put in within this type of job. You know, you have to deal with rejection constantly. You have to deal with people ignoring your emails. You're doing cold calls and cold emails, and people are telling you to cough.
Yeah.
You've got the internal pressure of, I need to hit quota, I need to hit target, because if I hit target, then people get promotions and people get jobs. And so you put that pressure on yourself, but then there's also the external stresses of dealing with how you're treated by the outside world. And what I've always said, I was like, I don't see myself as a salesperson. I'd never want to be a salesperson. I want to be someone who's about helping other people and helping businesses. A salesman sells you a product because you don't need it. And someone who genuinely sells to you is someone who wants to help you solve a specific problem.
Yeah. Well, we're a partner, aren't we? That's where we position ourselves.
Yeah.
We're a partner.
So it's hard for me sometimes when I know that you've put in a lot of effort and everyone in the team's put in a lot of effort and I've put in a lot of effort, and then you get that rejection. And that I deal better with it now, but it's still so stressful because one, your team can see that you've not got the deal and it's not come through, and two, you're doubting your own abilities because you're dealing with that rejection.
Yeah.
And then you kind of take that home with you internally and you think, well, if I'm not good at this, what am I good at? And I think that's probably caused the most stress for me in work. And I think it is a mix of like internal and external things.
Yeah, so it's self-doubt, if anything.
So yeah, self-doubt, things like that. But then there's also the external validation of being rejected.
Yeah.
And being doubted by others and people thinking that you're not legitimate or you're lying to them or, you know, all those things.
Imposter.
Yeah, exactly.
Imposter syndrome, yeah.
That comes back into it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it all ties in.
So how do you know when it's getting a bit much?
I guess you don't. I think if you've gone like the past 6 months where you've dealt with like lots of rejection and you've been relied on solely for, say, new business or for making things happen, which I don't ever think should be the case in a business, then I think that's when it gets a bit much. I think there's been times in the past where I've been the one that's solely responsible for like bringing a new business, then actually delivering some work as well. And then also closing the deals and then getting the signature signed and then making sure it's invoiced and then paid and all these other things. And then you try to do it all and that gets to me a lot. But that doesn't happen now, but that's happened in the past, like whether it be...
I was going to say, are you just having a fucking dig at me there?
No, I'm not. No, this isn't you. I'm just saying this has happened to me in the past. Like,
I know.
At other places. And that gets a bit too much. And you always say that the best businesses are ones that can run without you.
Correct.
And that means if I go on holiday or God forbid something happens to me or you or whoever, we can still carry on. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to be a bit of extra work, but I think it gets a bit too much when you put too much on yourself and you try and do too much. If you try and do everything in a business, you'll be unhappy because you can't control everything. If you try and realize what you're good at and make sure you're having a good work-to-life balance, that's kind of the sweet spot.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And I think, looking at the changes that we've had internally. So I think we've mentioned this on the podcast before, but like David and myself have, we've changed roles.
Yeah.
So we're evolving within the business, which is great, but we're in a period at the moment where we're doing both roles, our old roles and our new roles. And that's just the way it has to be until the dust settles and until we're confident that we can just step away from them. And, we've got client relationships, we've got campaigns that we've planned. So it's hard to just kind of step away, but that's stressful. And I think personally, I've just been trying to do too much. Like the first 3 months of the year, I was trying to do it all. And you do feel like a physical toll on yourself, don't you? Like you wake up anxious and stressed and like you go to bed anxious and it gets too much. So it's about like recognizing when you are doing too much.
How has it been for you kind of letting go of the things that you've always been good at?
It's been a bit, to be honest with you, it's quite scary because you're stepping into the unknown and you've kind of, SEO is my comfort blanket. I know that I know my stuff. I know what I'm talking about and I know I can deliver results. So moving into a role where I've not necessarily had experience before and like looking at like the social stuff, looking at, podcast topics, looking at doing talks, it's just something that I felt a bit lost at times because you just kind of, it almost feels like you've lost your spot.
Yeah.
And you've not found your new one yet. So you've like kind of like floating around trying to do your best and please everyone. And then that in itself makes you just want to kind of lie on the floor.
It's like a lack of identity almost.
Yeah. It's like I've lost a bit of myself.
I know the feeling because I've had to do that a couple of times throughout my career and it has been very difficult, but obviously one of the most rewarding things that I've done because I did my apprenticeship in social media marketing. So it's all I knew for the first 3 years of my career. And then when I met with an agency, it was like the first time I really worked for a proper agency, not one that was like less than 5 staff. And they had 2 roles. They had a social media /marketing manager role and they had a business development manager role. and they said, we want to offer you both and have you pick.
Okay, that's a nice position to be in, really.
And I was like, well, business development manager sounds awesome. So that's the only reason I wanted it.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what it entailed.
And you love the sound of your own voice, don't you? So.
No, I don't. I really don't. And so I'd asked, I was like, well, what does a business development manager do? And he goes, well, it's mostly, sales, finding new leads, being part of pitches. And I was like, well, why do you think I can do that? And I was like, you're so confident in your interview and you just come across as someone who is like a natural in conversation with other businesses because of the way I conducted my interview. Because I pitched myself. So there was like, this guy would be good at pitching.
Which is weird because you're actually an introvert, aren't you?
I'm very introverted, yeah. Unless I'm comfortable or I'm doing something I know I'm really confident at. So I chose the biz dev role. And that, for the first couple of months, even the first 6 months, I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, all I know is social media, and I'm sitting down training and learning how to do this job that I've never done before. But then I come out of that and I was like, now I know how to sell.
Yeah.
Like, damn, that is a good skill to have.
Yeah.
So I can relate to that massively because it's so frightening. And then I've gone from biz dev manager to, account management, which is quite similar, to be fair. But then I've kind of found my way of like, this is actually what I love doing. Yeah. And for me, it's always been about finding what I love.
Yeah.
I would never want to do something that I didn't enjoy pursuing, if that made sense.
Yeah. I think that's it, isn't it? You've got to find what you're passionate about. And I think what I like about this new role is that I get to be creative.
Yeah.
And I've kind of I've not used that tool for so long that it's a bit rusty, but it's there. And that's kind of like the core of me. So I think the opportunity to change and move away from SEO, I'm still there. Like, I'm still dabbling. You'll never get me completely out of the department. But it is good. It's a good thing. But you kind of, sometimes you get bogged down. And it goes back to you saying, like, things being internalized, Aaron, doesn't it? It's very much like, well, yeah, it is internalized. It's all in my head because I'm kind of, there's a voice, like a devil sat on my shoulder going, you're not good enough.
Yeah.
What are you doing in this role, you silly cow? You just, it's
a chimp paradox, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are there any signs you look for physically within yourself when things are getting a bit much?
I'm quite an anxious person. So, like, I hold my breath a lot. And like I say...
Not for too long, I hope.
No, but like I feel myself going, oh, I need to breathe. Like I forget.
Conscious of your breathing, yeah.
I do the same.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Horrible. How you forget to breathe and then you go, okay.
And then you gasp for air all of a sudden, yeah. So is that your trigger when you're like, I need to take a break here?
It's the waking up anxious, I think. I wake up early, but I'll wake up at 5 a.m. anxious. And then I'm like, right, there's something not right here. Something needs to give, and I need to be a little bit more forgiving of myself. And I'd say that's definitely my red flag warning sign.
No, I get that. What have you got signs-wise? Everyone always has a sign.
I think for me, it's when I start noticing that. I think kind of similar to Hayley's. Like I start thinking about my breathing, and then I get an increased heart rate. And that's when I know I'm really stressed out, and I feel my blood come to my face, and I get really flustered. So that's when I know, like, wow, I'm actually stressing a lot here, and then I start to shake.
Yeah,
because the adrenaline starts kicking in, and then there's fight or flight.
Okay.
Yeah,
I get that a lot. Like if I'm in, large amounts of crowds. Say if you was waiting for, say, a train, they're all standing at the platform. If I was standing there waiting for my train to come and it was running late and I had no idea when it was going to turn up, and I was standing around all these strangers, I would probably have a panic attack because it's so stressful to me. So I don't like the feeling of being trapped and not being in control. And I think that came from, back in 2020. I don't want to say the C word. And that came from that feeling of being trapped and having no option.
Yeah.
Well, you were told to stay at home, weren't you?
Yeah, and it developed from that. So now it's a trigger for me, and it's like, God, I can't be around groups of people where I can't get out, like, very easily.
So now it's in your head.
Yeah.
Because you were fine before, I imagine.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, I never had any, I thought anxiety was a myth. I was one of those, genuinely, I was one of those who thought, come on, it's got to be a load of crap.
Yeah.
Who can possibly sit there panicking? Like, what about? And you don't, I mean, I was very young then. I was in my early 20s, sort of late teens, but you think anxiety is like just something someone made up to make you feel sorry
like
for
the new
them.
trendy, like
Yeah.
everyone's self-diagnosing, aren't they, at the moment? And I guess it can seem a bit like wishy-washy, but
When you get it yourself, you're like, wow, I get it.
yeah.
I really get it.
I just think it's more in the public eye now, isn't it? And people are aware of it. So you look at a few people online, some influencers, and they'll go, it's a load of bullshit. It doesn't exist. There's no such thing as imposter syndrome. You're just nervous. And you see people like that, and you're just like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, fuck off. You don't know.
No.
If you're very fortunate to never suffer from it, then bravo, good on you.
Yeah.
But it's a genuine fucking thing.
Yeah.
Like, and to say it doesn't exist is really insulting.
It's so easy
really
to say
insulting.
that. It's so easy to say because if you've never experienced something yourself, you think, it's not real.
Yeah, it's not real. Well done.
Yeah.
You know, good on you, mate. But it is a real bloody thing. I've suffered with it, and first time I can remember it was the summer break between year 10 and year 11. I had what I thought at the time was an asthma attack because I did suffer with asthma when I was younger.
Yeah.
And I look back and I think it was an anxiety attack. Ambulance, everything, like proper, you know, it was cool.
Story
That's what
to
you think
tell.
when you're young. You're like, ambulance.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. And then in my very late teens, I had issues with my stomach, and then I started shitting blood. And I was throwing up every morning when I woke up. And then in my early to mid-20s, I worked at a firm, which I've spoken about before. I won't name the firm, but it was incredibly stressful. And I was waking up every morning then throwing up. I wasn't eating. It cost me a relationship. And since then, I've always been very mindful of when I feel a bit much. So last year, from April to July, I had to have off work because a prehistoric condition that I've had flared up. And that literally, I was bedbound for 3 months. And that was nothing to do with stresses now. That was just, I don't think it was anything to do with stresses now. I think it was just bad timing, really. Because I always back myself away. Or I try to anyway, but there's certain, so you can back yourself away from work, can't you? You know, you can have time off work, etc. But if you're having problems in your personal life, they're a bit trickier to deal with. So you can't necessarily back yourself away from a toxic relationship, for example.
No.
So these aren't things that you can just walk away from. If you're having problems with your children or your children are poorly, etc., you've got people around you that are poorly, you can't back away from those things. So I think that's where priorities need to come in. And you need to look at what is actually important in life. And work is not that important. It's, what are we doing? We're trying to earn more money to buy shit that we don't fucking need. What do they say in Fight Club? You're buying shit you don't need to impress people that you don't fucking like. Yeah. And that's all we're doing. And I guess my view of this would be, I've got 2 kids and a dog, and I could lose everything tomorrow and I'd be fucking happy. And it's nice to be in that position, I think. And I'm now at an age where I can genuinely say that and mean it.
Yeah.
Where in the past it would have been a lot of crap. It would have been a lot of crap. I'd have still wanted a Rolex.
I really respect that.
I'd have still wanted a Rolex. And yeah, I do still splash cash. I've bought us some cigars today.
Yeah.
You know, but it doesn't matter. It can go. You know, I've got a lovely missus, 2 all right kids, a beautiful dog.
Do you want me to cut that?
And, you know, I found out my mum's poorly, and that shook me this morning.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I was driving in the car, and I drive a fucking Bentley, and I will say that. And I tell you what, it wouldn't give a fucking rat's ass what car I was driving. That news would have still been hitting just as hard.
Yeah.
That my mum wasn't well. And when you manage to get your head around the crap, and you think, my mum's not well. It doesn't matter what car I bloody drive.
Nah.
These things really make a difference. And there's a quote in one of the Avengers films. It's not a single not a bit of money ever bought a moment of time or something, I think. That won't be quite right. I would have bastardised that. But it's around that. And I just think if you looked at everyone's lives, what percentage of that is work? That's stress. I think it's vast. People have issues outside of that. I get that, and they can't always be helped. But if you're stressed about work, fucking leave your job. Leave your job. That's my view. Leave. Yeah. Just leave. It's not worth it.
Because if you think about it, you're not doing a job to earn money. You're selling your time to a company.
Yeah.
You're literally selling your time and you never get back.
It's finite, isn't it?
It is.
And if you I mean, it's obviously different for you two, so please don't leave. Because we have a culture and we love our staff, but I've worked in places where they don't. And if you're working for someone that's a dick with you, they will replace you in 1 week. So
you're right.
Why are you stressing about it? Because they don't give a crap about you.
Yeah. If I died tomorrow, there would be a job advert out for my role next week. And that's just the way it is, isn't it?
Yeah, to a very large extent.
You are right. Yeah. You are right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think we'd just promote Liam.
I think we'd have a couple of week cry. Obviously.
No, but it's different. It is different here, or we try to make it different here. Yeah. But we've all worked in very toxic places. I mean, Hayley, you've spoken about when you worked in recruitment and how badly you were treating. Yeah. And I know, Dave, you were treating like a piece of crap in a previous role. I certainly was. And it's just horrid. It's horrid. And I see people, my partner stressed recently about work, and you're like, why? It's just not worth it. I don't know if we're going on a tangent here or if I'm just ranting.
It's all relevant, isn't it?
Yeah. I just think there's certain things that you should be stressed about, and there's certain things you shouldn't.
For me, like when I've been through stresses, I've always said to myself, if I'm ever in a fortunate position to influence culture and influence the way people feel as part of a company, that I would want to be someone who makes people feel good.
Yeah.
Because like you very rightly said, being in previous roles where, you told ridiculous things like, oh, I want that by tomorrow, otherwise, you're done, kind of thing, or loads of threats, or someone treating you like you're nothing, or making the whole room in the office just completely silent and feel like full of tension and stress, and you can feel it in the air. Stress. It's not physical, not just physical. You feel it in the air,
yeah.
When you're in a room full of people who are not happy.
Yeah, you can sense the tension, can't you?
Yeah,
you should taste it.
You should walk in this office on reports week. That is
that is
something
stressful,
else. It's stress, yeah.
Because I always try and be like happy and bubbly whenever I can. But I always come in and I'm like, oh, hello everyone, morning, and I'll get the Nerf gun out and start shooting people. But sometimes when everyone's busy and I'm just like, right.
They like it.
They do.
That's what they say to
Nerf
him.
Guns are plastic.
Actual Nerf guns, well, it's not euphemism.
There are times where everyone's got a lot on, and you can feel the stress in the air, and you're kind of like, well, I'm not helping by being a jackass. But it's weird. It's you can feel it.
I think because obviously we're all managers, and I've said this to both of you before, when you get to a position where you realise that actually you work for your staff, they don't work for you, they could all leave right now.
Yeah, and we would be screwed.
We'd be absolutely screwed. It's easier for them to leave than it is for us.
It is, yeah.
And I think the staff should know that, and that's why the workplace should be a nice place to come. It should feel like your house. It should be enjoyable. It should be fun. We allow pets in. There's only myself and Joe that have got children, but we'd allow kids to come. Yeah, I imagine.
It's not drama.
I'm gonna bring mine in at some point.
That'd be cute.
Just put a little pet, like little guard, like a dog.
Look at this. Lock them in a pen.
Put a dog bed down for the kids.
Like something in the corner of the room.
They're 11 and 5.
I've never had kids. I don't fucking know.
What do you think you do with an 11-year-old? Just lock it in the corner?
Put them in the corner and give them some Roblox or something. No, they'll play Minecraft on the Switch or something, you know.
Yeah, they do like Minecraft, to be fair.
Every kid loves Minecraft.
It's a bizarre game. Bizarre game. Bizarre
You can
game.
tell I've not got kids.
Yeah.
Have you seen the grandma who plays Minecraft?
No.
There's like a grandma and she's like trying to show that anyone can play Minecraft.
Really?
She's not very good, but she's like a streamer as well.
Nice.
She streams
nice.
herself. Very cute. I know it's a bit off tangent, but it's very cute.
Is that guy as well, that old dude who plays Fortnite?
Oh, I just think that's
Yeah.
so sweet.
How old is he? You're probably going to say 40, aren't you?
No, I
It's
think
just
he's in his
annoying
late 60s, but it's something bush dad or bush grandpa, and he just sits in the bush on Fortnite until the very end, until it's just him and one other guy, and then he kills him.
Right.
Yeah, and that's all he does. He just
Yeah,
sits
'cause it's
there.
like a skirmish, isn't it?
Yeah,
Fortnite.
yeah.
Yeah.
He just sits in the
skirmish.
hedge.
Is that right? Skirmish. Well, it's last man dies. That's not a skirmish. Skirmish is you come back, don't you?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you come back.
I think skirmish
yeah.
come back, don't you? Yeah.
Is that like Call of Duty where you respawn?
Yeah.
I like that.
Red Alert.
Red Alert.
God, what a game that was.
So there's no doubt that this industry is stressful and everyone will experience stress in their lives to some degree, whether that be like outside of work, you know, I guess you've got to take it as it comes. But what can people be doing to manage stress in the workplace?
I think you're more qualified to answer this question because you've been looking into this.
Why me?
I mean, I can share my 2 cents.
I'll go with how I deal with it. That's because at the end of the day, all you can do is you've got to do you, haven't you? I think.
Yeah.
So I need my morning routine to be spot on. So that's I need to get up. I need to have obviously get up, but I need to have some sort of electrolyte drink in the morning. I don't know whether it actually does anything for you, but it feels like a tick. I need to get sunlight in my eyes early. I need to journal. I need to do some sort of small workout, whether that just be 20 press-ups while I'm waiting for the kettle to boil, for example. I need to do something. And then I need to play with my kids or play with my dog. I need to laugh in the morning. So, you know, have a little fumble with my partner. I don't mean that sexual. I mean just like play fighting or something like that. You know, just have a cut and feel love. I need to feel that in the morning. And when I get that, then it kind of sets me up for the day. And no matter what happens, I've had that start to the day. And then I need to end my day in a similar way. So I need to, again, feel love. And when I get those, I'm pretty happy.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, you know, loneliness is such a killer. And I've been single and I've felt lonely in the past. And how disgusting that made me feel as a person, I would never want. I've never wished that on anyone. I'm very fortunate. I've got 2 beautiful children.
Yeah.
1 beautiful dog. And a bang average missus.
Oh,
A stunning
flip
missus.
that.
And I don't want to lose any of that.
No.
So I've lost relationships in the past due to work stress. I'm never going to let that happen again. I'm very, very fortunate. And, you know, I don't believe in God, but if God exists, I'm very blessed. And I would thank him for that. That's how I deal with my day.
Yeah. And is that why you looked at getting a dog as well? Was it to kind of bring those family elements together and have another thing you could love and do? And like, what was the decision behind that?
Well, I've wanted a dog for a very long time.
Yeah.
And I've always thought, I'm not at home enough. I'm not this. I'm not that. And then I'm prioritizing work above myself because I wanted a dog. So that's putting something above myself.
Yeah.
And you need to prioritize yourself, don't you? So I've got a dog for me.
Yeah.
And little Bonnie, I love her to pieces. I say little, she's massive. I love her to pieces, and I should have got her 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
And I won't prioritize anything above me ever again.
I love that. I think that's a really important takeaway, isn't it? It's just to make sure that you are prioritizing the right things because time is finite.
Yeah.
We're never going to get it back. And wasting so much time and ending up with regret is just it's not a life to live.
Yeah. I like old people because of that. because you speak to old people and they have regrets, and you speak to them, they're wise, and they, you know, my gran used to always say to me, always look after yourself first.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing as well, though. It's
Sorry.
That's the thing as well. Like I've always said to people, like, if you're in a toxic environment, if you're around toxic people, get yourself out of that situation. I've had friends in the past that have been quite toxic that weren't really friends that I've had to get away from.
Yeah.
I've had toxic environments, and those things really do affect you.
They do, yeah. I mean, I was in a friendship group in my early 20s, and they were quite into drinking quite a lot and certain substance abuse, etc. And I had to remove myself from that group because it was going to really hurt me. And I think also there needs to be a little bit of self-accountability when it comes to stress and the environments that people are putting themselves in. And is your partner actually a bit of a dickhead? You know, yes, you might have been with them for a while, but I think, what's it called? The sunk cost fallacy, I think it's called, where you put extra time into a relationship because you've already embedded so much time into it.
Yeah.
So you think, oh, I've been with them for X number of years. That means I need to give them another chance. No, you don't. If they're a dickhead, just fuck them off.
Yeah.
Move on. If your friends aren't good, distance yourself.
Yeah.
You know, your parents, that's a tricky one, but you can limit your time with them, especially if they're negative.
Yeah.
And you can limit your time with these people. And it doesn't make you a bad person by wanting more for yourself. It really doesn't. How do you two think we deal with it?
I think, you know, the thing is, there's so many self-aware, stressed people now, and it can almost become like quite self-deprecating, can't it? You know, you just kind of become a bit of a glutton for punishment. You're like, I'm stressed, like, and you can't pull yourself out of it because you can't see the wood for the trees. I've heard that saying today. I thought I'd slot that in there. So I think it's about just taking a step back, like you say, understanding your priorities and relaxing. Mindfulness for me is like such a big part of how I deal with stress. It's about reflecting, about the silence in your mind, and then it helps you to think clearly, because a lot of the time when you become stressed, you can't have a clear thought and it makes everything seem so jaded. And if you're upset about things that have happened at work, or, you know, you've had a conflict with somebody or something, like it's normal to go away and be upset and hurt by it. It really is. But I think sometimes you can become so upset that you can't see clearly and you need someone else to spell it out for you. And that's all right too. I mean, sharing your problems with somebody and allowing them to listen and allowing them to give you advice is also important. Sometimes you can't deal with stress on your own and you can't solve your problems on your own. So whether you're talking to a friend, a family member, or even, you know, like a professional, then just allowing yourself to understand what the situation is, the severity of it, and then find a solution.
Yeah, because sometimes you're wrong as well.
Yeah.
And you might need someone to tell you that.
Yeah.
You know, someone that's going to be brutally honest with you.
Yeah.
We can be wrong. You know, you might be being unreasonable.
Yeah.
And that's okay. We all make mistakes. I mean,
Yeah,
bloody hell,
exactly.
if I could go back through a highlight reel of my life, there's a lot of bloody mistakes there. And I know, so I speak to a therapist, as I've already said on the podcast before, and what she told me to do is, when you look back on a situation, imagine you're the third person in the room watching that happen.
Yeah.
Would I be happy with my behaviour in that situation? And if you think you're a bit of a douche, then don't act like that.
Yeah.
If you can look at that scenario and think you were still in the right, then, you know, okay.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that you're allowed to let that other person feel bad in that situation. I think you could have always have dealt with something better.
Yeah.
But a lot of the times, the things that I was speaking to her about, she's called Kim.
Shout out Kim.
Yeah, shout out Kim Ward in Wilmslow, great. you look at it and you're like, no, I was a massive dick.
Yeah.
A massive dick. And then you know, hopefully you're in a position where you can go and apologise. If you can't go and apologise, then you've got to learn from it and move on. Because we can, you know, we're hard on ourselves, aren't we? But sometimes we're correct to be hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
And we need to learn from it.
Your vibe attracts your tribe.
Yeah, you are what you want to attract, don't you? Yeah. So if you want that fit bird,
You got to be a fit bird.
Brilliant. Love it.
you know, be the person that she'd want to be with.
Yeah. God, still got to figure that out.
Wow.
I'm joking.
Alicia.
Yeah, it's funny, she's editing this as well.
Yeah.
Gonna get a slap on the back of the head.
You're not going to get a slap on the back of the head, mate.
Yeah, I genuinely think that's true though. Like, your vibe does attract your tribe. I think people who are very negative and talk about sad things and why they're so hard done by, you'll attract other people who will also like vibrate that message back to your head.
People that watch the news too much.
Yeah.
Not nice to be around.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
If you sit there with BBC News on Sky News all day, you're going to end up depressed.
Yeah. And I've seen people genuinely, I'm not going to say who, but I've seen people who moan about the same things every time I see them. I don't like this, don't like that, don't like my house, don't like my job, don't like this, blah, 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 blah. And then you're in the pub and then another one goes and say the same thing. Oh, I don't like this, I don't like my
Is
job.
he talking about me and you? Because we're both looking at movies.
No, I'm not talking about you.
Who are you talking about? Whisper.
This is usually when I'm not going to say because it would be so obvious, but there's people who do that all the time, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm so depressed. Like that. I'm hanging around with these people, and all they're doing is moaning about how much they hate their life, and I'm like, do something about it. You know, take action. If you are in a toxic workplace, quit the toxic workplace. If you're in a toxic relationship, quit the toxic relationship. If you want to earn more money, look at ways to earn more money. Go on a training course. You know, develop your skills, develop your career. Find something you want to do. Like find something you love.
Invest
doing.
in yourself. I think.
Yeah.
Invest in yourself.
And that's
you don't need a lot
isn't
of
it?
money, do you, to invest in yourself?
No, you don't.
It's
work out, eat healthy.
It's
You need the
$7.99 a
drive.
month for an Audible subscription.
Yeah,
Listen to one book a month, and in 12 months you'll be a better person.
yeah, 100%.
And it's $7.99 a month. You know, it's these people that are moaning that they're not happy with the situation. They're the ones in the pub spunking 30, 40 quid a night on beer.
Yeah.
They could pay £8 a month for an Audible subscription, pay for a course, change career. You know, there's loads of things to do. I mean, fair play to Alicia. You know, she's entirely changed her career in her mid to late 20s, and not a lot of people would have the balls to do that.
No.
And that's fair play. That.
Yeah, and that was all for the sake of her mental health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, it's you do the math on it, and she's probably earning half of what she used to earn.
Yeah.
And there's ways to support that as a family, as you know, as one.
Yeah, as a unit.
Really, yeah.
As a unit. Yeah.
And but I've always said to her, I was like, you can't. It's not sustainable being somewhere that is so toxic that you come home and you don't want to do anything and you're just miserable and you don't want to deal with anyone. Life is too short for that stuff.
It
Yeah.
is. You end up with golden handcuffs, it's
Yeah.
called, don't you? Where I think a lot of people that are stressed with work that can't leave is because they're probably getting paid more than perhaps the market rate.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So then
yeah,
they can't leave roles because they know they're going to earn less money somewhere else.
Yeah.
And they're strapped by those golden handcuffs and they're attracted by the car, you know, the Range Rover that they bought that they can't really afford, the watch that they've got on 4 years interest-free finance that they couldn't really afford, you know, the credit cards that they moved from balance transfer to balance transfer because they couldn't really afford that holiday in the Maldives. And you just get trapped, don't you?
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
You get trapped. I mean, I think we should just scrap all credit cards for anyone that's under the age of 25.
Yeah, I think, you know, that's a big stressor, isn't it? Debt and, you know, people who go to university. So I went to uni and I'm like 70 grand in debt and the interest is growing.
Yeah, I see your student loan payments. It's eye-watering.
It's awful. And, you know, I just don't think I'll ever get over that. And I've just come to accept it because it comes out of my wage and that's that. But to allow somebody at 17, 18 to make that decision to like have such a financial commitment is crazy.
For potentially the rest of your life.
For the rest of your life, literally for the rest of your life, unless you win the lottery.
Yeah. Well, 18, 19, 20, I was getting credit cards thrown at me.
Oh, yeah, same.
I think everyone was, weren't they?
Yeah.
And it's so immoral.
Yeah, it is. It's wrong because they know that they can tie you in, they can entice you, and then you're fucked.
It's not real money, is it?
No, it's not.
You never pay that back, do you?
It was like Monopoly.
Yeah, and so something's got to come from that as well, because I don't know the stats, but the amount of young people that must be stressed with money, I bet it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and university debt is a big contributor to that as well.
Yeah, but people choose to go to uni, so
that alongside...
Are they pushed?
Yeah, they are.
Societally.
Depends on your career, doesn't it?
I think
if you want to go into law or medicine, you need to go to uni.
There is such a huge pressure, though. I don't think I've ever talked about this, but when I was younger and when I left school, I was so pressured to go into college or university.
Yeah.
By who?
By my grandparents, by my parents, and by everyone around me, by my friends' parents.
It's the done thing, isn't
Yeah.
it? It's like, what do you mean
It
you're not
was
going?
for them, wasn't it? It was baby boomers.
Yeah.
They went to
Like,
college and uni.
You're never going to get anywhere unless you go to university.
Yeah.
You're not going to have... How are you going to earn money? You're going to stack shelves at Tesco. Nothing wrong with that. But that's what they say.
Yeah.
And
It's standard insult, isn't it? That?
Yeah.
Yeah. Stacking
There's
shelves.
such a pressure for it.
Well, stacking shelves is quite noble, actually.
Yeah.
I
think
Good workout.
I could
Daily
lose
workout.
everything I have today and stack shelves at Tesco and earn minimum wage, and I would be still as happy.
Do you know what? It's interesting.
I'd want to stack shelves at Waitrose.
Yeah,
I'm
you
joking
could
for
do
anybody
that.
listening. It's a joke.
I'm not bothered about... I used to be, but I'm not bothered about like massively about materialistic things. I'm bothered about investments and future building. So there are certain decisions I'll make, and I'll have fun with money. But
Is that why you got a pension?
I don't.
For the benefit of the tape,
conversation.
David Vernon's not got a pension.
I've not, and that's another conversation. There are very good reasons for that.
Because you don't think you're going to live that long.
No. I'm going to live my best life until I'm 55, and that's it. But anything past 55,
It's a bonus.
It's a bonus. It's like bonus years.
So it's like Ricky Gervais says, doesn't it? If you stop drinking and eating shit, you'd live an extra 10 years. And he'd be like, yeah, but they're the worst 10.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they are.
The 10 at the end. If you could give me back 20 to 30, I'd take that. But the 10 at the end, 75 to 85, I don't want those.
Yeah.
Are you like falling apart?
Yeah, he's got a good point with that, hasn't he?
Yeah.
It's a whole nother question, though, because it's been raised to nearly 70 years old now, and it used to be 60. Like, by the time I'm 70, it'll be 80.
You need a sip.
SIP.
Yes, I'm PP.
PP.
Yeah.
PP.
I'm not a financial advisor, so I have to stop there. Just in case we get sued. I've got a sip.
I have my own
We'll
investment
talk.
vehicles.
We'll talk later.
Yeah, and you can buy commercial property.
And to be fair, I've always said to myself, if I'm not a millionaire by the time I'm 50, then it's not fucking worth it anyway. Who gives a shit? Might as well live on street past 70.
I thought you didn't care.
Well, I don't.
He doesn't care unless it's seven figures.
Not about
apparently.
materialistic things, but, if I've got something to secure a future, then great.
Money in the bank's material.
It's not really, no.
Well, it's
Because
made
you can
up.
gift that to other
It's
people.
made up. You're right. Money's made up.
It is made up. It's not materialist.
Now, the only real thing is gold.
So, yeah, thank you for listening, guys. Next week, we're going to be discussing the importance of video within your brand strategy. So, stay tuned.
For a special guest for the very first time.
What does video mean?